Hello, folks. Miss me? Well, I miss you. And welcome back to the podcast here today, guys, for Aew Dynamite review. Happy and welcome to February. It's a new month. It's crazy. We're already 1 month in 2024. Aye. It's churning. The time's churning. But nonetheless, we are here for another review for you guys. So, first on Dynamite. So, Dynamite had, compared to last week, which, give or take with last week, some parts were not there, certainly for the show. This week, though, there were it was a good show, I felt. It was good. I will say some aspects about it leading in were not great. Speaking of the dealer's choice, that was certainly a bit underwhelming, but depends who you ask, I think. But we had some good stuff. We had a sit down between Tag Team Champions Big Bill, Ricky Starks, Darby Allin, Sting ahead of their Tag Team title match. Next week, Swerve and RVD. That was some fun stuff. Now, Jon Moxley, Jeff Hardy. That was surprisingly good. The direction they seem to be looming with Jeff Hardy, that is certainly take a difference. We'll talk about the new rankings certainly in a bit as they're officially back. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, got some stuff to talk about. Now, I did, for those who didn't catch up, so I did watch Collision on Saturday. However, I chose to do a review about the Royal Rumble Saturday nights as opposed, and I just talked briefly about Collision after or at the end. But Collision I thought was a decent show compared to Royal Rumble. But I think we can honestly say that things are missing about Collision. I mean, for starters, we see Andrade at the Royal Rumble when he was part of the great ambiance of Collision when it started. CM Punk, of course, we know, was a big reason for Collision. He's now away on WWE. Now, unfortunately, is injured and will miss WrestleMania, which obviously a damper on plans, along with Seth Rollins' injury. Then, so the other thing is, okay, you have those two guys who have been pivotal parts in Collision the way it began, and then another is Miro. So, we talk about, I think many will agree, at the end of World's End, at the end of December, Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom, they had that big, reveal. And took out MJF, and MJF, of course, is injured and rehabbing a torn labrum. Of course, also playing into the Big War 2024 storyline. But, they finish. And the other thing about World's End, Miro fought Andrade. It was an anticipated match, It's like Andrade was CJ Perry's client and had a good showing in the Continental Classic. And before he left AEW, he did business for Miro. Miro realigned with his wife, and we really haven't seen them since. So, I think we can agree, all due respect to Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whichever, House of Black, FTR, it sucks. But, the growing feeling about Collision, the way it's just not been the same than how it started. And it's sad, but sort of similar to how Rampage was. Rampage started off hot for a couple weeks, and then they stopped paying much attention to it. And look at where it is now. I used to review both Dynamite and Rampage. I barely look at Rampage now. How it is. Or barely watch. Collision, yes, I watched. Actually, after I recorded, no, because there was no football on Saturday, so I watched Collision, but that or the Royal Rumble. So, yeah, but I think we can get the feeling about Collision now. But anyways, I did watch it. I enjoyed the cage match between FTR, Daniel Garcia, House Black. I did enjoy the match, although I would be lying if, there's two aspects. First of all, I'm happy for Daniel Garcia. First of all, again, building AEW's future. That's a great thing as we lean toward 2024 because, Miro, they're not using. MJF out hurt. K Omega, we don't know when he'll be back. So we get the point. Build for your future. And Daniel Garcia, if there's one guy who coming out of the Continental Classic, they've been doing good by, I feel it's been Daniel Garcia. Because Garcia, he had that big last win against Brody King when he played Spoiler. Then he beat Jay Lethal in that match at World's End. And, he beat Buddy Matthews. And then he is the winner now of that cage match Although that finish was so-so with Malachi Black. Anyway, good for Daniel Garcia. On the other hand, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't upset about House of Black losing a bunch. More and more. And reports are reports. Rumors. Can't believe it all. But I've been seeing rumors of Malachi Black reportedly not refusing to do jobs. I've been seeing it on a couple platforms, or mostly Twitter. So, it's likely not true, but, whether it is or not, the fact is, House of Black, really, since losing the Trios titles to the Acclaimed at All In London, have really just been not great. And that's been the same for the Trios titles and the Acclaim, which we'll talk about. I did enjoy Bryan Danielson versus Yuji Nagata. Give or take with Yuji Nagata. Look, Bryan Danielson, his last year as full-time wrestler. As a full-time wrestler. So, he's got to wrestle who he wants to wrestle. Japan style. I said it again. I'm trying not to. But we're seeing Japan, him wanting to work that style. And probably the reason why we're seeing these CML guys on AEW is perhaps because Bryan Danielson has voiced that he wants to work in Arena Mexico. So this is probably their way of prepping him before he wrestles in Arena Mexico. Certainly a thought. And also Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb had her first match back in a year and a half. Again, I talked about this briefly at the end of my Royal Rumble review. But Serena Deeb had her first match back in a year and a half after, issues out of the ring, having seizures, but luckily she's healthy back and made a claim for the women's division to be champion. So, we'll see how it goes. And with that, guys, thank you all for joining me. Let's not ramble, too much, but I did want to get that stuff out of the way about Collision and, stuff going in. But like, subscribe before, and let's get into review now, shall we? As we talk about Dynamite. Getting on my notes, shall we? So, Jon Moxley. He went one-on-one with Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy, the last couple weeks we've been seeing against Darby Allin been a bit of a new attitude. An attitude really we have not seen since his TNA days. There was that incident, that incident infamous for Sting, but his heel turn at the end of 2010 and before the incident in 2011, his heel turn definitely kept me off guard, caught me off guard, and many, as for many years cheering for him, and it was different. But I quite liked it, I will say. Him as a heel. He did have heel tendencies when aligned with his brother at the end of his TNA run. But the way it seems now in AEW, after voicing their displeasures about being kept on Rampage, he's had back-to-back matches against Swerve and Jon Moxley in good fashion. And seems like he has a new attitude based on what happened after. So, this solid match. I gotta say, both these guys, veterans, at their age, still pull off a heck of a match. But yeah, Moxley is Suicida back in the ring. He had a pile driver for a near fall. Jeff hit a twist of fate that did not go all the way, or didn't really hit it that well, as Moxley gripped the ropes. May have been the miscommunication, but nonetheless, Jeff have not seen him hit. Well, part of the reason he's been on Rampage, but mostly. But seeing him hit Whisper in the Wind again, come for a near fall. Mox hit a superplex off the top. Jeff hit then a stunner, then followed up with a twist of fate. Jeff then went for a swanton bomb, but missed. Moxley then caught Jeff into a rear naked choke. Jeff passed out. There you go. Moxley gets the win. Good stuff. Good opening match. So, after, because Jeff flipped off Darby after losing Darby weeks ago on Rampage. So after sign of respect, Moxley went for a handshake on Jeff Hardy. And Jeff then, did one of these things and, flipped off Moxley. And Moxley, was surprised. And after, Jeff just left, and there you go. So, yeah. So I mentioned the CML guys, as Brian Nielsen's going to have a match against some guy. Apparently there's a partnership now with CML and AEW. So there was an attack as these masked guys go up for the attack on Moxley, and there's the Blackpool Combat Club. But Angelo Parker, Dan Magic, Matt Menard, and Dan Garcia, they trotted in for the save. And so we go from a good thing to a look. These guys may be good, but I mean, with all due respect, they all AEW already has, Kommander, Vikingo. At first, he seemed like a special attraction for his match with Omega. Now he's trying for like a dozen matches now. They already had Penta. They already had Phoenix. I mean, get the point. What do these guys bring? I get Lucha Libre style, but what do these guys bring that these others guys don't? That's the thing. And at times when fans are restless, when the whole stop and go method of AEW's booking sometimes, with their own wrestlers, and then trying to make us care about all these Lucha Libre style wrestlers. Again, with all due respect, probably very good, but it's just like sometimes. So then the first of the dealer's choice between Hangman and Swerve. So they got to pick each other's opponents. Now, when you look at both ways, so I can understand if, first of all, it was a very good match and very good showing by Liona versus Hangman Page. Both turned out a good match. It's good to see Toa in singles competition as opposed to, being aligned with Khan in a tag team aspect or the Mongol Embassy. It was refreshing for a big guy like Toa. However, when you compare Dealer's Choice and Hangman picked RVD and a hardcore match for Swerve, and it's just totally on a regular match, it's kind of underwhelming for just a build-up aspect is concerned. But I will say it was a good match, fun match, very good for Toa Liona. It was just with the build-up, it's like if you just said, okay, Toa Liona versus Hangman, not making about Dealer's Choice, might have been a better, more excitement, as opposed to, building this excitement and then all of a sudden it's just totally on. But yeah, it was a fun match between these two. Totally on, small guy. Definitely has different tendencies and looks like kind of looks like Rikishi a bit. Kind of looks like the Usos. I mean, he does have that essence, that Samoan essence. But good match. So Toa, for the large part, because they wanted to show, what he could do. So they show off his power for a large part. He actually managed to dump Hangman over the top rope. Just like threw him over the top. No sold his strikes for a while in this match. Big deed for the big guy. And he hit a crossbody off the apron on to Hangman, which good spot to the outside. Again, Toa is a big guy for his athleticism. It was good stuff. So back in the ring after break. Hangman was in trouble off the tree ball, but Hangman managed to fight back. Here's some high-flying offense here of plancha, followed with a suicida to the outside. Back in the ring, he hit a high crossbody for a near fall. Toa got the offense back. He hit a big thrust kick for a near fall. Hangman fired back with a couple lariats, but like I said, stiff on Toa. Didn't go down. Finally, after coming off the ropes, Toa went for a crossbody but missed. And Hangman followed with a big lariat which turned Toa inside out. Hangman tried early in the match to get Big Toa up for the Deadeye, but to no avail. And then finally he got him up. Deadeye, but Toa no-sold it. And managed to hit a big headbutt on Hangman, and then a discus lariat for a near fall. So on the outside, Toa, so he sent Hangman to the outside, and not sure, Toa went for a number of different ways. So I thought he was going to go for like a top rope splash to the outside. I mean, definitely risky going for a big splash onto the concrete on the floor. Someone on the floor as opposed to a table. So Toa, impressive showing by him. He went for a springboard moonsault off the ropes, but Hangman rolled out of the way, and then his top rope Asai Aria moonsault onto Toa for the advantage back. And good spot. Interesting way to finish. So Hangman went for the buckshot lariat. Toa countered and then got Hangman up for a Samoan drop. But Hangman managed to counter into a crucifix bomb and then pinned Toa 1, 2, 3 for the win. So yeah, that was good stuff. By the way, mustached Hangman is definitely getting used to. It's weird, but it's working for Hangman. Mustached Hangman. I don't know. I guess it's the cowboy look. I don't know. But good win for Hangman. Going into next week. The Young Bucks Nicholas and Matthew Jackson. So, they arrived to the arena in a limo. And so, some guy works there, hand them sheets, like this is stuff that's going on for the show. So, Nicholas was pissed that he was not mentioned by the name of Nicholas and Matthew Jackson. So, he said he's tired of the disrespect, so he told the guy $500 fine. And yeah. So Matthew Jackson or Matt Jackson, he was, upset. Or he was trying to calm down the guy who was upset. And basically said like, hey, I'm sorry. Nick's going through like a phase or something. He'd be like a hard ass, something like that. So he said, but don't worry, make sure you pay him that fine by the end of the day. And let's have a good show, right? So, yeah. So, next up, Wardlow versus Kommander. So, I mentioned the Undisputed Kingdom, that big reveal at the end of World's End, taking out MJF, looking on top of the world. But really, since then, they have not. They felt flat, with their momentum. And, it sucks because the reveal went good. Adam Cole made sense. It was the safest pick. Safest reveal for the devil they could have done. The guy in the mask. But yeah, since then, their momentum has felt odd because Cole's still in a wheelchair. So, again, you just have to ask, how healthy is Adam Cole? Is he getting close to returning? Just again, one of the weird things about this whole storyline was we don't know the health, the severity of Cole's ankle. So that, and then Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, holding the Ring of Honor tag team titles. What would help is going after the AEW tag team titles when it's a sad fact, but reality is not many people care about Ring of Honor. these days. So, they're basically holding the secondary tag team titles. Roddy is going for the international title in Orange Cassidy at Revolution, but it's still a month away. And it's in the booking powers to make sure Roddy looks strong and good, pun intended, to be able to take that title from Orange at Revolution. And then the last aspect, Wardlow. His momentum has been so hot and cold the last, 2 years. It sucked. But it has. Or since his time in AEW, really. I mean, he's been the absolute definition of the stop and push, type role he's been in. And they seem to want to replicate the whole Wardlow MJF situation, but instead Adam Cole is going to serve in the place of MJF. And it's tough because we're not seeing Adam Cole wrestle. He's not healthy, apparently. At least not yet. And Wardlow is going for the world title, but problem is the two top contenders are Hangman and Swerve. And they're going after Joe's title at Revolution. So it's oddball, certainly. So we got Wardlow here. At least he beat two guys under AEW contract. That's the big good deed, I will say. So, now, thing I think people were worried about with this, luckily I saw a tweet from Wardlow before I came on to record this, saying Wardlow saying his knee is fine, saying, but it did look like he tweaked it or something when he went for the powerbomb on Kommander. Because, yeah, he didn't really get the full torque of the powerbomb. Just kind of threw him down. But, win's a win. Wardlow won. Yeah. Thanks for coming, Kommander. Yeah. But you get the point about the Undisputed Kingdom. With their momentum, way it's been, yeah. So this is probably the best thing about the show, perhaps. So we had a sit down with Darby, Sting, Ricky Starks, and Big Bill. So it's good. It looked like it was a gymnasium of sorts. So it's good. So sit down with Tony Schiavone as well. said that Ricky Starks asked for this sit down, no physicality, otherwise he wouldn't have agreed to it. So Ricky Starks had the word first, said that, that he did respect Sting, but he does not respect Darby. Talked about the time where Sting started his run in AEW. How ironic that 3 years ago, started your career with me here in AEW, and partner of his, hence, was Brian Cage, and Darby, of course, was in that match, and it was like a warehouse. It was the cinematic match. Not sure, but so Sting asked, you didn't say what I did. And he said, you did beat me in there. So Sting was like, okay, oh, that's right. Yeah, so Darby was animated. He was animated, fuming. So, interrupting Ricky, saying, you're talking about respect. Well, as opposed to this man, you should watch tone, and this man's career is not a stepping stone. Not a stepping stone. So, asking what you mean by respect, says he respects what he does in the ring, but at the end of the day, when you're pointing fingers at everyone, the only one who really deserves it is in the mirror, and you're pointing at Ricky. Sting had his turn. Or actually, is Big Bill saying people talk about, or they've been talking about, going into retirement, talking about being tag team champions, saying they're going to take the titles in the Revolution, saying in a sarcastic tone, manner. But they haven't mentioned them. And said that next week they'll trim like all the rest, showing why they're the best and the AEW Tag Team Champions. So then Sting, then it was turn, talking about first Ricky, saying, well, yes, they did cross paths, 3 years ago, and saying, yes, he admires Ricky, being the first one to get up in his face and get up in his business. And as for Big Bill, calling Big Man, said, I've faced a lot of big men this day, but says the difference between him and the rest is they were killers. And I'm not so sure about you yet. So, Darby mentioned words to Ricky Starks, and Ricky had a water ball through Darby's face, and Darby got hot, got in the face of Ricky Starks, and Starks like, hit him, hit me, do it. So Sting held back Darby and said, haha, yeah, he's very protecting me, very he is. But don't worry, he'll hit you next week in Phoenix. Oh, and I will too. So there we go. Short, but down to the point and fun. The way they all handle themselves. I mean, this was a good segment. And I do expect the Young Bucks to show their faces one way or another. Next week, some form of fashion. Whether they cost them the titles or perhaps after. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. See, it's hard to say, but it's either the Bucks cost Sting and Darby the titles next week, and Darby and Sting get their revenge at Revolution. That's number one. Number two, what I think is likely, more likely, is that Darby and Sting win the titles next week, carry them into Revolution, and then we get Sting and Darby versus Young Bucks for tag team titles, and Darby and Sting drop the titles in Sting's retirement match to the Bucks, and that is where we go to. But we'll see. We'll see. Chris Jericho versus Kyle Fletcher. This was a good match. Kyle Fletcher, obviously sucks that Mark Davis is hurt, but this is what you like about tag teams. Especially, what you can appreciate is that when a guy's partner is hurt, they're not wasting away or sitting on the sidelines waiting for their partner to return. No, they're using Kyle Fletcher in good fashion. So, this was basically... So, I think the stipulation was that if Jericho beat Fletcher, then it would be Jericho versus Takeshita next week. So, at least it's semi-build to get to next week, which should be a fun match. So, but this was a heck of a match. And I will say, Fletcher, it looks like he's been putting on some muscle as well. So, that's been a plus. I will say his theme music is pretty generic. I get the Aussie theme for Aussie Open. It's obviously different, and he wants to be perceived as both a tag team and a singles competitor. But that is a lot better than what he came out to. But nonetheless, fun match. Kyle Fletcher hit Jericho off the bat with a hot start. Hit Michinoku driver almost immediately for a near fall. Jericho fought back. During the match, hit a top rope hurricanrana on Fletcher. Fletcher fired back. Hit brainbuster for a near fall. Walls of Jericho locked in by Jericho. Obviously, Don Callis, Palos Hobbs would get involved one way or another at ringside. Jericho hit a Codebreaker for a near fall. So, this was a weird spot. So it looked like Fletcher was going for a brainbuster, avalanche brainbuster of sorts, instead of a superplex. So we know Jericho, he's not as nimble as he used to be. So I think there is a bit of improvisation as Fletcher went for a superplex or brainbuster, but instead, I guess he kind of dropped Jericho, kind of turned around, and it was like a DT, basically on the top rope or the turnbuckle, which they improvised as well as they could. Got in there full of it. So Fletcher followed up with a big kick. They were on the outside. Jericho hit a juice effect, knocked out Fletcher, and then back in the ring coming off the top. Jericho hit another juice effect, this time off the top. 1, 2, 3, and Jericho gets the victory over Fletcher. Jericho talks of, allegations and such, him being protected, not being on live crowd. Well, he was on Dynamite in front of a live crowd. Minimal, good reaction. So, decent reaction, I would say. Wasn't bad. I wouldn't be surprised if the Vince McMahon news, that's kind of taken away from Jericho's thing or whatever. But either way, it was a very good match. Case point. Glad to see, again, Fletcher being used despite Mark Davis's absence. But yeah, good match. And next week, Jericho versus Takeshita. Should be a fun one too. Aew Dynamite is actually lined up pretty well next week. So keep eyes perked for that. Deonna Purazzo, there was a nice little vignette of her before her match with Taya Valkyrie. Later on. And good news about them is they explain the significance of their ankle tattoos. Yeah, it was good. So, definitely the low point of the show. If not mostly. So Bullet Club Gold. So it's clear where the direction is with this storyline, but can honestly say this segment sucked. It just didn't feel right. So Bullet Club Gold, one of the hottest acts currently. Again, I love their new theme. It sucks that Juice is hurt because he certainly added a lot to the group. But yeah, so they were out there with the Acclaim. The Acclaimed are great. They're very good. Now, one of the criticisms, or I think the biggest criticism about the Acclaimed, has been they're very good. But you like to be for them to be more serious. Be actual like contenders, to be again tag team champions. The antics and stuff are fine to a T. But, often it's just not as well. So what I mean is we got this segment, and so we got Bullet Club Gold and the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. Daddy ass, he was in there. So talked about Cardblade. They talked about Juice Board. That's what they're using for Juice Robinson. As he's so hurt. So they did mutual agreement. Guns up sign with the scissor sign. In the middle of the ring. So, yeah. But, yeah, I think we all agree. Look, Bullet Club Gold, is great. And they should be heels. They should be wanting the trios titles, the AEW trios titles. And that's where it seems to be leaning a unification. Bullet Club Gold, they attack the Acclaimed eventually, and then they go for trios titles. Jay White, Guns, they just work better as heels. The Acclaimed, it's just, after a while, the antics just make you cringe. It's just how it is. But, yeah. Next segment. Deonna Purazzo for Taya Valkyrie. I thought this match was well put together. Two ladies obviously have plenty of history together back from TNA days. And yeah. It was a well thought out match. It is something seeing Johnny TV getting cheered, getting chants when he's at ringside for his wife in a different match. So, yeah. So, Deonna, she was sent his steps. Taya, Johnny TV, they were making out at ringside. And then Taz like, whoa. So, back from break, Taya hit a big, almost like a Blue Thunder bomb on Deonna. She hit a side slam. So, and good to see someone picked up on it. So, for those who watched WWE back in 2008, that there's the infamous Mike Adamle for WWE. He was a commentator, he was a GM, but probably his most infamous moment is at the Royal Rumble 2008 when he called Jeff Hardy Jeff Harvey. So then, Toni Storm, she was on commentary for this match, did not feed. So, Ian Riccaboni was not in Tony Schiavone's place tonight, so she was not feeding him macaroons. But, so as Excalibur said that, Taz was like, I knew it, you're Mike Amley. So, Toni Storm said something, Nate jibber jabber, and then Toni Storm made this face like she was about to burst out laughing. She was like, so yeah. I mean, her expressions and all this with the gimmick, it's hilarious. So, Deonna prides herself being the best technical wrestler, women's wrestler in the world. So, as she was staring down Toni Storm, I would say a unique submission, as it was like a butterfly walk where Taya was pinned down and her shoulders were like popped out, to her back, and she had to like pat on Deonna Purazzo, like her face or chest, to like tap out. So, a unique way to finish the match, certainly. So, yeah, Deonna Purazzo continues momentum, and yeah, seems like the match is going to be made for Revolution. Purazzo versus Toni Storm. So, I mean, yes, this feud and storyline, it has been going well. Darby Allin, so he was backstage with Renee, and he was confronted by the Young Bucks, saying why he's late, saying suck out the life from you, when in reality, he and them, the Bucks, should come up with their own faction of their own. Talking about gimmick and stuff. So, Darby said, with all due respect, the only thing on his mind is the AEW Tag Team titles. So he left. Nicholas was not happy. Matthew told Renee, hey, good show. Fist bumped her, and yeah, that was that. So, like I said, we're going to see the Bucks next week, one way or another. Main event, this is good. Swerve Strickland versus RVD, Rob Van Dam. I mean, in a hardcore match. So Hangman found a loophole saying that, not just pick our opponents, but pick the match. Kind of a thing with the Total Liona situation earlier. It could have been better thought out, but fun for what it was. It is so good to see how well RVD at his age can move in the ring. One of the best, one of my favorites. It just... Was it perfect? No. Was it very good? Yes. Would you love to see? But yeah, this is good. Right off the bat, Swerve took a chair to the face. I mean, as you expect, they were fighting on the outside. Swerve got sent over the barricade a couple times. RVD is patting a leg drop over the apron. Swerve followed back with some offense, but RVD at the Rolling Thunder, He went for a monkey flip out of the corner onto a chair, Swerve countered into a sal powerbomb on the chair for a near fall. So, towards the end of the match, Brian Cage came out for the aid against RVD and Hook, who again, another spot for Hook on the show. Good to see, as apparently it seems like he and Brian Cage are feuding as well, so Team Taz revisiting. That's something. So, Hook took out Cage with a chair, aiding RVD, but Swerve came up from behind. Ultimately got a big DT for near fall. So there was a chair set up, or a table set up on the outside. Swerve went for something off the top row, probably a Swerve stomp. But instead he got a chair to the face by RVD. And that, lo and behold, sent Swerve crashing through the table on the outside. But back in the ring though, Swerve managed to get out RVD or miss a 5-star frog splash. Swerve hit some offense, but RVD kicked out, followed with a Swerve stomp, then 1, 2, 3, and Swerve gets the victory over RVD. Solid match, like I said, but yeah, at the end. So after a disgruntled Hangman trotted out and voiced his congratulations to Swerve, but talked about Swerve wanting and needing to be World WWE Champion. Well, that won't happen, according to Hangman. So, Swerve was chuckling and basically telling, well, basically you're obsessed with me. And being Hangman says he got nothing to prove to him. I beat you twice. If you want, fine, we'll do it. Nana wasn't there. Prince Nana wasn't there. Which sucked, obviously. So, so Swerve's like, okay, well, we'll finally do this. Third time for a match, and after that, you and I are done. So that's that. So, after that, it was good. And then, right away, we see a graphic for next week. Swerve vs. Hangman Part 3. Face Samoa Joe at Revolution. Hint, it's a regular wrestling match. So, what seems likely a time limit draw, and we get triple threat at Revolution. That's what it seems. But, yeah. Anyways, should be fun to see as far as next week. We got some good stuff. So, yeah. Jericho for Takesha, the tag team title match, which I think will be the main event. Swerve vs. Hangman, Part 3. I mean, yeah, we got some good stuff going next week. So, keep guys up. Now, we got to talk about the rankings before we leave. So, let's bring up, shall we? So, because I think we can agree that there's some issues with these rankings. Let's see. I think I should just look up, AEW rankings really quick. Okay, one sec. Okay, so last time, there were three groups. Tag team division, men's division, women's division. But now there's trios division. So that aspect is good for the trio styles. That's the thing. So right off the bat, what can we say is wrong? So for the men, it's just men champions. That's stars. You got the world title, you got the TNT title, you got the international, you got the Continental Crown. I mean, it's clunky right off the bat. I will say, though, good that Swerve and Hangman are 1 and 2. I will say that. It's good, but clunking in the contenders for the men when you got 4 titles. I mean, you gotta do a better job with that. I mean, yeah, you gotta do a better job. That's my opinion. Now, here's the thing with okay, so here's another thing I noticed. So Bullet Club Gold, okay.